This podcast is sponsored by HOFT, Hub of Finance Transformation Consulting. And at HOFT, we empower organizations to achieve unparalleled success through innovative consulting, capacity building, and technology solutions. Headquartered in the UAE with a global presence, our mission is to transform finance functions and entire businesses by leveraging the expertise of our world-class team. Join us as we guide you on your transformation journey towards excellence, innovation, and sustainable growth.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is the first episode of the Finance Transformation Podcast, your one-time shop for finance transformation. In that podcast, we're going to have deep discussion with business leaders, CFOs, and finance leaders, how we're going to make sure that the finance transformation journey is a walk in the park and easy as much as we can. And today we have a special guest, a guest who believes in the AI, a passion about automation, and especially on the demand planning and supply chain and forecasting tools as you speak now. So please welcome everyone, our first episode guest, Robert. Welcome to the podcast, Robert.
Thank you, Rita. Good morning for me and good evening for you.
Of course. So if you can just start, Robert, if introducing yourself to all our audience.
Thank you. Well, let me make it brief because I'm not going to admit to all the years of my experience. So I'm just going to take a little slice of it. Let's take the last 20. So if that's the last 20, it means there's more. So it's very disturbing for me anyway. But in the last 20 years, it's really been about analytics and then moving into artificial intelligence. And it got off in a large way, I'd say around 2016. I met a man who would become a friend of mine, a partner of mine, and a co-author of mine. We've written over 100 articles on AI and analytics, and we've written 2 books together. We're just finishing the 3rd book now. And in that journey, we started at a bar, at a finance conference, meeting at a bar and talking, or I should say lamenting about the difficulty in finance, is basically stuck in spreadsheets. And that was a start of my journey into developing software, developing academy and analytics academy, writing books, developing finance benchmarks. I have over 1,000 analytics projects I've done across hundreds of companies and dozens of industries. It was just natural for my background, where I am an engineer. I'm my Bachelor of Engineering in Mechanical Engineering and a Master's of Science in Mechanical Engineering, all in heat transfer, thermodynamics, and fluid mechanics. And when I first started out, I started out as an engineer building nuclear reactors, nuclear power plants, I should say. So obviously it's all linked. It all falls together, but we don't have the time, and we certainly need a more interesting environment around good food to talk about that. But let's just keep it to the last 20 years of working for Fortune 500 companies, actually working everything from companies that are $10 million to $30 billion in across finance and supply chain and operations to help them in their digital journey.
Wow. So if that was only the last few years, I'm just curious enough to know what happened before that. But that can be another podcast episode. We can go through that later on. Cool. But I mean, having an engineering background, focusing on an AI and serving the business when it comes to finance transformation, it's a beautiful mix, as you can see. There is one common thing across all these 3 steps is the logic, because there is logic in each of these steps to land in the business. Now, next question, what drives you focus mainly as we speak now as area of expertise on the demand forecasting decision making? Sure. You know, in the business, there is different areas of helping, supporting, transforming the business. But what exactly make you interested to deeply focus on that area in the business?
Right. Thank you. It's a great question. Because it's the core of the business. I mean, what is business? Business is about planning for the future, right? However, in business, we're largely reacting, but we do budgets, and then in supply chain manufacturing, we do demand planning. I mean, that's how you achieve. If you've got really good demand planning, you achieve really good profitability. You know, if you're able to plan well, you're able to deliver well, you're able to get the best prices, right? You can take your supply chain out longer. You can optimize it better. It is the key of business operations and profitability is how well you plan. If you don't plan well, you don't operate well. So that's where it all starts, is the demand plan.
Okay. Now, so when it comes to planning, that will take us to our main subject, which is analytics business partnering.
Right.
You know, the concept now in the business, across all the business, if you notice the shift, which is now it's about experience. So now everyone is looking for consumer experience, for brand experience, for customer experience. And that's how we're going to serve the business. This is the change from an outside point of view, where the business interacts with the outsider as a customer, consumer in the market. But inside the business, there is an experience now. All the titles now has shifted to business partnering. The partnership word make magic, that we're not peers. You're not my boss, I'm not your boss. We're here partner to win together in the business. Now, if you can just elaborate more the subject of analytics business partnering, what does it mean? And how does it serve the business as a overall?
Sure. Well, let's kind of compartmentalize this. So if you think about business partnering, you think about it in terms of like from finance. Let's start there. It meant just serving the business. Here's your financial statements. Here's your responses to questions about the financial statements. Here's the coordination and on the budgeting, and I'll assemble the budgets. And then I have, of course, accounting, tax, audits, those kinds of things. So there are traditionally business operates in stovepipes. You know, your finance, your manufacturing, your inventory, supply chain, your support functions, HR, and so on and so forth. When we talk about business partnering, we're talking about the word partnering. Now, I want to distinguish the word between collaboration and a team. When we collaborate, we're equals and we're sharing ideas, right? When we operate as a business, we operate as a team. In other words, if I give a football analogy, there's a quarterback, there are ends, there are linemen, tailbacks, fullbacks, people like that. Everyone has a job and a role to do. So at finance, we have a job and a role to do. Manufacturing, we have a job and a role to do. So my job as the business partner is to play in the team and know how the team works and operates. So in finance, I have to understand my business, my operation. In other words, we're in the business of manufacturing widgets. So I better know what the widget market is, who the widget competitors are, and what my market share is of the total widget market. I have to understand my business model, how we go to market, how we make money, how we're profitable. So if I'm going to be a good partner, a good player, not only do I have to understand my position in the team, but I have to understand the team and what the team is trying to accomplish strategically and tactically. So good business partnering starts up by being a good team member and understanding what are we playing? Are we playing soccer? Are we playing basketball? And what's our goal? Is it to win the championship? You know, those kinds of things. So we in the business have to understand our role. And oftentimes people operate in their stovepipes without regard to the other. So good business partnering is playing as the partner in the team And part of your job also is to serve like in finance, we serve the other team members, right? We serve operations, we serve inventory, we serve manufacturing, we serve those things. How do we serve them? How does it fit in our overall strategy, go to market, and all the other things that I mentioned? So that's business partnering. Traditionally, what that has meant is, well, I'll be really good at tax. I'll be really good at audits. I'll be really good at accounting. I'll get the financials. I'll be really good at getting the financials done and getting it out, disseminating it accurately and on time to the people who need to see it. And if I take it even a step further, I'll try to do it as cost effectively as I can. So I'm really looking at costs. And if I'm in finance, I don't really think about the top line that much, other than for reporting it. I'm really thinking about costs. So when someone comes to me, I think about how do I cut costs? And that's only half the story. When we start moving, and I'm going to stop here because I know we're going to go on to the other questions. We start getting out of the traditional business partner into the analytics business partner. That's when things start to change. So I'll stop here. And this is where we are today, actually, for most companies, as the traditional finance. I'd even say less so a partner, financial organization, who, by the way, the typical finance organization is well respected, generally within the company. At the Finance Analytics Institute, they've done wonderful surveys on this, and people do really see finance as a trusted reporter. We go to finance to get numbers, accurate numbers, and we go to them for those kind of objective reports of the numbers. So finance occupies a good space in most businesses.
I think I agree with you when it comes to the finance is trusted when it comes to reporting. I've seen it myself, people approaching finance to make sure that we have the one final number that no one will doubt after that. I agree with you. But since some people look at this as a weakness point, that this is your role that you need to be limited to, but I see it as an opportunity, as you're highlighting, that you already gained the trust, you already gained the numbers, you already have the information on the data of the entire business, the history as well. That make you in a much better position to move to our next question, if I may say. How we can move from being diagnostic, descriptive analytics, which is simply looking at what have passed and explain it in a right manner. And many people now focus with finance, and that's where we can see different speeds with the AI world. People want finance to move from being reactive to be proactive, to explain what happened in the past. But what, Robert, you're highlighting here, you want to go to the next level, not to be focusing on diagnostic perspective, what happened in the past, or even what will happen in the future when it comes to the forecast, for example. But we want to go for more predictive, prescriptive analysis as well, which is completely different shift in the diagram of finance and the role they can play. Now, how we're going to convince finance to move 2 steps ahead from being shy, being waiting for someone to approach them to report the number, give them the number, to go way ahead, few steps ahead, to even go and approach the business and tell them where we should go?
So it's a very insightful question, because the biggest limitation on finance is finance. Most people, in my experience in going through companies, most people want to go to finance, want to get their input, want them to help them in things like analytics and AI. But the limitation is finance isn't there. For the most part, as going back to the Finance Analytics Institute's study over the last 5 years, half of finance organizations are very content and very good at being what we call a reporter. There's something called the 4 personas of digital transformation. And that's the reporter, the commentator, the advisor, and the strategist.
Hmm.
And the reporter is the group, right, that you were alluding to. That you have, what you were alluding to before was descriptive analysis, and then you have predictive, and then you have prescriptive. So descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive. And that's all part of the four personas. So when you're a reporter, what do? You report. You take the numbers and you report them. When you get to be a commentator, you report the numbers and you commentate on the numbers. When you get to be an advisor, you report the numbers, you commentate on the numbers, but you start now to do analytics. You start to apply mathematics. That's different from arithmetic, adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. That's what we do in finance. That's all we do is arithmetic. So for most organizations. So half of finance organizations, that's all they do is arithmetic. When you get to the advisor, now you're starting to apply some mathematics like statistical correlations. You know, what correlates with what? What could be a driver of my business? And then when you get to the strategist, now you're starting to really get into regression forecasting, Monte Carlo simulations, and the like, where you're not only seeing what will happen in the future, but how to make the future happen. So let me kind of summarize. You have four personas: reporter, the commentator, advisor, and the strategist. And in business, we have to answer 5 questions. What happened? Where it happened? Why it happened? What will happen? And how to make it happen.
Okay.
Right? So when you talk about, like you're saying, descriptive, the 5 questions of what happened and where it happened are handled by the reporter and the commentator. But now if you want to get to those next 3 questions, why did it happen? What will predictively happen? And how, from a planning perspective, predictively, how can I make it happen? Now you have to move up. You have to have the systems and the people and the processes to enable yourself to be an advisor or a strategist to get there. So that's the journey. Digital transformation journey is to get from where I am today. 50% of finance organizations are reporters. The top quartile are relatively commentators, a little bit of advisors, but largely commentators. Only the top 10% of finance today, only the top 10% can truly call itself an advisor or strategist.
Yeah. If you see the business, how competitive it is, with only 10% of finance people playing the role of advisor, what could happen if more percentage, double of that percentage, 20 or 30%, play that role?
Right.
And we're gonna cover that later, how the AI will evolve and allow finance people to move on that pyramid to the top 10% and make it the other way around. The bigger the finance people planning and as an advisor, and the less of effort is going through the reporting toward the end. But now, before we reach that stage, for any analytics business partnering success in any organization, there are enablers. You mentioned a few of them in the previous question. If you just elaborate more, what are the main enablers for analytics in any organization as an overall?
Sure. So digital transformation, let me talk about that, has, let's go into 3 major groupings. Are you ready? Are you capable? And are you providing value? Are you ready? Are you capable? And are you providing value? The "Are you ready" goes into some of what I was talking to before. Do you have the mindset, systems, process, and people? Those are your enablers. Mindset. I really do want to be an advisor or strategist, because before I said what was holding back finance from analytics business partnering is finance. The number one thing is mindset. Do I have the mindset to be an advisor? Do I have the mindset to be a strategist? If you don't have the mindset, then it's all over. All you'll be is a reporter or a commentator. I'm not saying that in a demeaning way. I'm saying that as, what's your aspiration, right? What's your persona? So the first part is, are you ready? Do you have the mindset? Do you have the people who also have the mindset to be advisors and strategists, right? And are they capable, right? We'll get into that next one. But do you have the people? Do you have the processes? Now, when we talk about processes, people largely talk about data governance, very important, right? But no one really talks about, we've written about it in 2 books now, decision governance. If I have an insight, if I have a piece of analytics, if I have a prediction, how do I make decisions with that? That's called decision governance. And most organizations are void of that. And then the last part is systems. If all you have is Excel, you can never be more than a reporter. All you have is Excel, you can never be more than a reporter, period. Just like if all you have is a mindset to be a commentator, you'll never be more than a commentator. But unless you have the analytic systems with the people capable of using it and the process to absorb the analytics to make decisions with the mindset to make decisions as an advisor or strategist, that's how you put it all together in your digital journey of, are you ready? Are you capable? And finally, are you adding value?
Okay. So away from the mindset, because mindset is a complete change management program along with people to make sure that they are in the zone. Let's now go a little bit deeper when it comes to product or tool as we speak now. I know your product is Aurora Light Z, which is an AI-driven tool as you speak now.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you the perception about AI tools in general as we speak now in the business. So everyone is speaking AI. It's like a fancy, nice subject topic to bring in your statement. Whenever you look at the actual application in the market now, it's still premature. I'm telling you the perception. Yes, we can use it to ask a few questions, free language, we get an answer. There is a real ROI in the business when it comes to implementing AI tools like Aurora Light Z, for example, that is tangible ROI as a real example, away from the wrong perception that we have about AI that's still evolving, gathering data, and is still not yet solid enough to drive big numbers on the table to convince the management, the CFO, the GM of the organization to go and invest in that.
So one of the big problems is that executives are the single largest cause of failure of AI. That's one of the reasons we wrote this book, AI-Enabled Analytics for Business.
I need to read this book, Robert.
is to teach them, how to have vision, value, and voice to AI. So much is being talked about, but it's talk. Very few people actually do it. And even the people, in fact, in that book I just showed you, there are more examples of failure in that book than success. There are examples, in fact, most of the examples are very successful pilots that never turned into implementations. Because executives lack the vision, the voice, and the clarity to analytics. And so it starts at the top, not just understanding it, but here's a perfect example. We write about a large company, Fortune 100 company, that had $1.5 billion, I think 1.4 billion, something like that, return on an analytics project that they did. Exceptionally good. I think we'd all agree that it was exceptional. Billion, let's just say $1.5 billion, exceptionally good return. But it was $100 million expenditure, and they hired hundreds of people and took years to develop it. What executive is going to raise their hand and say, let's do this project? Very, very, very few. Only the few, the proud, the brave are going to do that, because most executives are focused on their career, and their career is about avoiding risk, not reaching for success. And so when you don't have a clarity of vision of the value that analytics can bring, and even for many, many, many people who actually see it in practice with their own data, there's still that hesitancy to bring it forward. And that ability, or inability, I should say, they become too distracted by other things, and then they lose focus and wander away and never come back. And so in the book, we spend most of the time talking about why things fail and why things that are successful never get implemented.
So I'll just have a follow-up question on what you said. One of the executive, the CFO, in finance is known for their data security sensitivity. They are the governance of the data. Especially when we speak about AI, it's a very big subject, as you know, when it comes to the security and how we're going to protect the data under AI as we speak now. There's a few products, I don't want to mention the product in the market, where big companies, a very leading company in AI, they create an enterprise version with some sort of agreement that this will be protected. But again, nothing is guaranteed as we speak now. Just maybe one of the resistance of the CFOs to go full-fledged in digital transformation, or even AI to be specific, is the data security. Have you mentioned any of the field stories about data security in your book?
Yes, and it's a myth. Data is pretty darn good. Like I've said, I've done over 1,000 implementations, and I don't have one example to give you where there was, quote, bad data. Sure, there's bad data in data, right? Yeah, of course. But the vast majority of the data is usable and pretty good for use in not only business operations. In fact, I use it every day. If bad data was so pernicious, I mean, business would be failing, tripping over itself day after day after day. It doesn't. So the stories of bad data are, or the fears, I should say, of bad data are greatly exaggerated in actual practice. And I'm separating that from data security. Data security, unless IT reports to CFO, data security is really the job of IT. These are the boys that got to step up and have got to deliver, the firewalls and the cyber and the cyber protection from cyber hacks and things like that, cyber security that's needed by the business, right? But data is good throughout the business almost uniformly. There's enough of it there to do many, many things. And today's tools, like analytic tools, are very good at data cleansing. Lights being one of them, but there are many analytics tools out there. They're very good at helping find bad data. And as I've said to everyone in every project I've done, which is, if the best way to find bad data is to use data, because when you find it, when you find it, you fix it. Simple as that. So the more data you use and the more often you use it, the more you'll find it and the more you fix it. And that comes back to data governance. So I'd be less concerned. I'm less concerned about dirty data, if you will, from a CFO perspective, and leave the job of data security, to the experts, which is their job in the organization, the IT experts, which is their job to protect the company's data, the company's systems.
Okay. Now, Robert, in the boardroom, we always have this person with a few white hair, not like me, standing in the room. Then there is a debate about the forecast, what happened in the past, explaining some number. And we see this person walking toward the window, closing the eyes, remember something from the memory as an event in the past. He's been in the company or the industry for the X number of years, as you know. And then we got this gut feeling that, yes, this happens because of what? Because of A, B, C, or I am proposing the forecast to be X, Y, Z because whatever reason that we're highlighting. Now, how lights or AI tools eliminate the gut feeling decision making in the business overall?
Okay, bingo. This is now we're at real value. We talk about value, and probably the lowest hanging fruit that AI can provide is that unbiased forecast. Now, let me separate it for a moment. I'm not going to say the forecast is right or wrong. In other words, it's accurate or inaccurate. I'm going to say it's unbiased. It doesn't have that gut feeling. It's applying advanced mathematics and algorithms to make a forecast of the future based upon the data of the business. This is what we've done. This is how we've operated. And based upon what we've done and how we've operated, which constitutes all of the environmental parameters surrounding the business, here's a forecast. This is the first best use of artificial intelligence, is creating the unbiased forecast. Now, it just so happens to be that that forecast is more often than not much higher accuracy than the traditional budget or gut feel forecast or demand planner spreadsheet forecast. It's wildly better. Look, the average forecast accuracy, when we get down to the detail level, is 22 to 40% 90 days in advance. That really is poor. And that's the best that demand planning systems deliver. This is where the AI can come in and really elevate and cut that traditional error by 40, 50, 60, 80% or more, and can see further out beyond 90 days to 12 months. Imagine if you had higher accuracy forecasts 12 months out, how better you can plan your manufacturing and supply chains and purchasing and everything like that. It'd be huge. So we get away from the gut. Now, we don't eliminate humans, because humans know things about the future that AI couldn't possibly know. But what we can do is marry man and machine and have the AI come up with the forecast and use advanced techniques like Monte Carlo simulation to say, here's your forecast, but here's your probable range of outcome. It's going to be from X to Y. It's not going to be $100. It's going to have forecast maybe is $100, but we've got an 84% probability that it'll probably be somewhere between $95 and $105. Now, when we have those kinds of objective probabilities, we have those types of unbiased forecasting, now we can really do some very serious business planning from the very highest level to the very detailed level of the business. Remove gut feel, but include the knowledge that the business has about itself. We know about a sale that's going to happen that hasn't been entered yet. We know about an LOI. We know about a line a manufacturing line that's going to shut down. We know about a customer that's going to do maintenance and therefore isn't going to be ordering from us for the next 3 months. So we have all that intelligence in the business to adjust the forecast, but we're going to let the AI drive that baseline forecast. And then once we have an adjusted forecast, we're going to allow Monte Carlo simulations to give us probable ranges for planning. So this is an enormous use. And like I say, the first, best, lowest hanging fruit of AI for in forecasting.
Robert, that's like a daydream, what you just mentioned. I wish to see that on a daily basis. I'm not sure how many phrases I should quote from what you said. But the beauty about marry the man and a machine to get the range and get the business objective, I do believe business operate on that process, on that intelligence, will be eventually ending with zero business waste. I'm not sure if you're aware of the business waste in the manufacturing sites because of the wrong signal, gut feeling, business disruption in the market, and the wave impact, because the change in the market until it reaches sourcing and the manufacturing, it takes some time. And once this wave reach the manufacturing, there is another wave coming with another change as well in the market. So the speed of the technology and the information from the end consumer to the production line, the less waste. So I fully agree with you when it comes to low-hanging fruit. When it comes, this is the least we can observe as a benefit on the short term as well. Not much bigger benefit in the future. The other point, which I love what you said, it's a completely different animal between unbiased forecast and accuracy of the forecast. People mix between both. I love what you said here. Because if we're going to ensure 100% unbiased forecast, the probability of the accuracy of the forecast is high. But at least the challenge we have now, we have overlapping challenges. We have biased forecast with a low probability of accuracy as well at the same time. So that's what AI brings on the table that you highlighted, that at least eliminate one of the challenges. We're going to ensure that this is unbiased forecast. And then the probability will increase eventually by the time that we evolve in terms of data.
Right.
Now, time with you, Robert, runs fast, as you can see. We're just approaching the last two questions I have for you before we close our first episode with you. I do believe you see the customer resistance at the beginning, convincing the customer with the tool, having the change management challenges from finance people, implementing, sharing data to have a successful landing. And then I can see your face, happy, smiling, walking out after you finish the job, where everyone sees the benefit out of that. Can you share some feedback from your implementation from a few customers? At least we can see the beautiful image at the end. We started with the ugly picture at the beginning. Let's have a good image at the end of the project.
Sure. I tend to focus on the negative because the negative dominates, right? And we have to overcome it if we're going to do the finance transfer. But when it does work, it works excessively well. When you can plan, like we have numerous customers. We have a large Fortune 2000 transportation company, and they use it extensively in their budgeting, forecasting, and planning throughout their business. And they have amazingly high accuracy. And again, it's that we're looking forward 3, 6, 9, 12 months. The things we have to do for the quarter, but we can't forget the end of the year, and we can't forget even the year beyond that. So there's always these rolling quarterly forecasts that go out as far as 18, 24 months. So we're always planning ahead. There was another wonderful one in retail, in restaurants, small restaurant chain that said, especially here in where I live in California, they're always getting hit with more regulations and also requiring that they pay their people more. The hourly rate keeps rising. So what do you do as a business? How do we get smarter? How do we use less people?
Mm.
And by, again, number one, a better forecasting of demand. One of the things it turned out is they didn't need 2 assistant managers because they could automate through AI the job that 2 assistant managers had to do in spreadsheets. And so they can get rid of 1 assistant manager for that. So that was a headcount savings. But the big savings was really on their acquisition of supplies like food and liquor. Liquor is a very, very profitable item, the most profitable item that they have. And the liquor manufacturers always come to them and say, well, we'll give you a deal, buy 20 cases of my tequila and we'll take 20% off, right? So the question is that a good deal?
Of course.
It depends on demand.
Of course.
Right? So by understanding your demand better and by able to forecast with artificial intelligence more accurately, they can say, this is a really good deal. I'll take 40 cases, but now I want 30% off. So they're actually able to improve it by negotiating for more because they saw they had the demand, where in other cases they said, no, thank you. The discount isn't worth it because I'm actually predicting a downward demand of this product. So the 20 cases won't help me at the discount. So they're better able to do that, which just increased profitability measurably. And you do that over a large number of stores, and that adds up to tens of millions of dollars. So again, another example of how you use, and the one that I'll end with that I like very much is it's being really good and then being better than really good. In one case, a famous distiller actually wrote custom ML programming for its demand planning. And it was very good, very good. It actually achieved over the year a 93% forecast accuracy.
Wow.
I think we'd all agree that's very good.
That's
right?
a very good number, of course.
Yes. Very good across all their products. And so it was excellent. That's what I was saying before. It's an excellent job where the highest, best immediate use of artificial intelligence. Now, they wanted to prove it further, so they reached out to Aurora, and we actually got the accuracy to 99% accurate.
Wow.
So it's one of those things where you took something really good and you even made it better. So I just say this as a point of pride because you asked me for success stories, but also to say that there is great value in AI, and which we didn't even talk about, in things like predictive signaling. What are the markets telling you? Correlations with external indicators. What are the things that drive demand? What are the things that affect my business? There are all things of leading indicators. What are the leading indicators and how do they affect me? All of these things are low-hanging fruit that AI and artificial intelligence can be, analytics and AI can be used for.
Yeah. I was not aware that there's 99 accuracy, to be fair, in any of the business, giving disruption in the market. That's a new number to hear for any business. But now I'll use the marriage analogy that you used before. Let's use it as one closing note for today's episode. Now, you mentioned before how the man and the machine can marry and have miracles when it comes to the unbiased forecast and accuracy in the forecast. Now, how AI and advanced analytics will evolve in terms of connection, dance together in the future.
Right.
Usually before, Robert, when we used to speak about the future, we mean 1 year, 2 years, 3 years as a future. That's what we speak about the future. The current year is like the present as we speak now. This is like very short term. Now with the AI, every quarter we have a big release, a big news. a big capability, a new update globally. So even the future now definition is different. That's very short term as we speak now. So the question for you, how AI and advanced analytics will be evolving in the near and longer term future in your point of view?
Right. Well, I'll stay away from the apocalyptic future connotations of AI. It is truly, this is like, AI is bigger than the nuclear bomb. You can use nuclear energy for great good. You can use nuclear energy for great harm. And AI is no different. In fact, it's much bigger, especially when you get to things like quantum computing, what we'll be able to do. So let me keep it on a positive note and a more near-term note, at least for business. Business hasn't scratched the surface. It hasn't even dusted the surface. I mean, of using analytics and the analytics that's here today, let alone talking about analytics 10 years from now. I mean, we have lots of chatter about ChatGPT. And it's a marvel. It's truly wonderful. But, the applications we're not even in AI 1.0 yet in terms of its practical applications in business, right? The capabilities for better planning today, not 10 years from now, today, the capabilities for like human resource management. How do we keep, what kind of people should we hire? AI can help us with that. It can help us determine that we can forecast, predict the types of people that are more likely to stay with us longer and more likely to have job satisfaction with us. And when they're with us, what are the things that they can do that will help them and us? We're not even touching that in HR, in human resource. How do we make better people, better organizations? What's the market? There's so many things out there in the market that we can do today with just correlations, and they aren't being done. Correlating with economic indicators, external correlating with internal indicators, just simply to find supply chain disconnects. We can find that out of the box today. We're not using it. We're not even using what we have today, that analytic tools like Aurora Lights and others have today. So it's kind of hard to stretch 10 years from now when we look at studies done by the Finance Analytics Institute that says for the last 5 years, finance hasn't really changed. It's still largely an Excel-driven organization. So my thing is that I hope that one day, as we go forward, that people, especially the executives, the CFOs, the CEOs, wake up and say, today is the day we start our digital journey. And today is the day we are going to commit ourselves to our digital journey. And we're going to go from our reporter and from commentator to really strive and have the aspiration to be an advisor and be a strategist. And we are going to build a culture, an analytics culture of creating value. And we are going to have the capabilities to do that, because I do understand, I do have a vision, I do have a voice to the value of analytics. So I think that's the positive note to end on, is that the morning rises, there's a new dawn, and the executive, whether it be CEO, CFO, whatever, says, today is the day we start our journey.
Yeah. Robert, I think we started with the nuclear studies attachment and we ended up with the AI, and we understand now the connection. Not only now I understand the connection between your initial passion and the current passion that you have. I think I enjoyed every corner of this discussion. You took us through the journey from being a very passionate person when it comes to the engineering nuclear at the beginning, and then now in the AI, and now we ended up that we're not only scratching the surface of the AI in terms of business, which is give us the edge that the horizon is huge and the opportunity is huge. The word long-hanging fruit mentioned at least 3-4 times as we speak in that discussion, and it does mean it just requires the mindset, the process, the tools, and the people who does believe on scratching the surface and getting the maximum out of it to start with. Robert, I enjoyed the discussion with you. It was my honor, pleasure having you on that podcast. Thank you so much for this discussion.
You're welcome. My honor and pleasure too. Thank you.
Thank you.